pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I want to thank everybody who's come down, and hopefully we'll have, like we did last time, a few more filing in as we go. I know obviously it's the dinner hour, and I know I wouldn't stop before I finished my dinner to come to a town hall meeting. I'd finish it first. But that's how you get built the way I'm built, is you don't miss too many meals. So. But for everybody who's here, I want to thank you. For those of you that I think I've met everybody. My name is Kevin Fisher. On January 1st, I was sworn in for my first term as the city councilman for Ward 5. I said while I was running, and I'm trying to do my best to keep my word on that, which is that we want to hold forums like this on a regular basis. Not only so that you have the opportunity to hear what we're doing on your behalf as a city government, but also so that we can hear from you on what we need to do better, what priorities we should be focusing on. And it's always been my belief that there's no way I can possibly vote on your behalf if I'm not asking you what that is. The first meeting back in January, rather easy for me. I hadn't been there long enough to make anybody mad. So after 12 days, it was what a great job I've done. There was no potholes to fill. There were no lawns to mow. It hadn't even snowed yet, so no roads to plow. So the first one kind of was more or less, let's talk about what our priorities should be for the coming year. This one, obviously, if you can pick up the theme from who we've got here today, the theme is obviously public safety. We've got our brand new police chief. Bruce, how long have you been in the position now, Chief?
Since February.
February. So he chased me in by about a month. In the months since February, I've had the opportunity to work with Chief Lauber on numerous issues. I cannot possibly say enough good things about him. And what I love about the way this guy goes about his job is that he's not doing it from behind the desk. He's not, writing down edicts out there. He's very hands-on. He's got a lot of energy, and frankly, for a lot of the issues we have as a city, in my opinion, he is exactly the person that we need running the police department. So here in a few minutes, we're going to bring the chief up to talk to you. But first, I wanted to introduce the other people that we have up on the panel. I think everybody should know Ward 3 Councilman Jim Griffin, who's also our new Assistant Majority Leader, which basically he gets to now, in addition to saying "I" on Monday nights, he gets to say "second" as well. So he gets to double his speaking role over there. So it's very exciting. We also have James Knight from the Stark County Prosecutor's Office. One of the areas that he focuses on is neighborhood watches, which obviously with our neighborhood organizations, with the increased, I think, importance of intelligence-based policing, neighborhood watches become more and more important and more critical in how we go about fighting crime. And then obviously our main speaker tonight is our new police chief, Bruce Lauber. I wanted to start and ask Member Griffin, my next door neighbor from Ward 3, if you wanted to say anything, as far as the new chief or anything else involving crime, and we'll go from there.
I just want to thank Kevin for having this tonight, and for you people that showed up. We don't have many Ward 3 people here, but I got one. Huh? Okay, good old Jason. But anyway, thanks for coming down. It shows you care, and that's the important thing. I tell my people, of course, sometimes I say, call me anytime, and they do. I got one at 10:30 Monday night. They didn't pick up their trash last week, and they were worried they weren't going to pick it up Tuesday, and they got it today. But yeah, that happens. It's going to happen. So anyway, but hey, thanks for coming, and maybe there's something I can do to give some advice or something. And thanks for coming, Chief. I heard the Chief, we had him up at Hannah, our Harder Heights neighborhood group, and very informative. You'll enjoy it.
Thank you, Griff. Next, I want to bring up Mr. Knight from the prosecutor's office, and I know there's been everyone's heard of the Neighborhood Watch, and I don't think that a lot of us are familiar with necessarily the ins and outs of how they work, and that is his key focus down at the prosecutor's office. So, James, if you would like to come up and speak for a few minutes, and then we'll move forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin, for allowing me to come and speak very briefly tonight. I just want to basically help set things up and for the chief, kind of give them a good introduction. But again, my name's James Knight. I am the crime prevention specialist with Stark County Prosecutor John Ferrero's office. Even though I'm dressed like one, I'm not an attorney. I don't tell them I'm not an attorney if I'm going to a hotel or something over the weekend, see if I can get a good deal. Hasn't worked yet, but mainly, as Councilman Fisher said, that my main role is Neighborhood Watch, crime prevention, and basically I wanted to just basically come here and show my support for all of you tonight, and just to let you know, our office, we're here for you and helping you get a Neighborhood Watch started. And just basically, just to sum it up very briefly, what goes into Neighborhood Watch, some of you may be aware of. I see some familiar faces out here, but you're really helping to be the eyes and ears of Chief Lauver's department, okay? Because he's got a lot of good officers out there, but they cannot be everywhere 24/7. It's now more critical that you give his department your support and help be that extra pair of eyes and ears out there. Just at least we don't want you basically, needlessly going out. It doesn't mean that you're going to be patrolling the neighborhoods and then confronting people or anything like that, putting yourselves in harm's way. It's just if you see or know something that could be a suspicious nature, whether if you see it going on or just see some graffiti somewhere, report it. It may sound pretty simple, but report it, the time that you saw it, anything that you can, even if you need to, write it down, all the specifics about it. And that's what neighborhood associations and basically utilizing Neighborhood Watch work so well together, because the more you know your neighbors, the more that somebody who that you haven't seen in your neighborhood before that's doing something suspicious or it doesn't seem right, that'll stand out to you. You know the guy that jumps on Jane's bicycle, takes off with it. That's not Jane's boyfriend or somebody you've seen there before. Or the guy that wanders into Bob's garage because Bob left his garage door up again, even though he is out back mowing. But you've never seen that person before, and they just have wandered on. You'll know certain things like that, and that's when you want to report it to the police, give them as much specific information as possible, because that intelligence-led kind of work is so crucial to help them solving cases. It doesn't happen just as fast as you see, like on the CSI shows. Okay, police rely on the input they get from the citizens. So, but tonight it's just more about I just want to hear and learn myself what the chief has to say and what your specific concerns are. I brought some cards. I have some handouts. We work very closely with the police department as well as your city council, and we thank them again for all their support. And I look forward to continue that collaboration. Thank you very much.
Before we move on, I wanted to point out for anyone that as great as he dresses, everybody obviously knows when he comes in the room, but our at-large Councilman James Babcock is also with us now. And I'm hidden by the pole over here. And by the way, for those of you that hadn't noticed the glasses on my face, I'm extraordinarily blind. So, because he's in the back of the room. What's that? Yeah. So I wanted to also recognize our at-large councilman, Joe Cole, who's come in hiding out in the back of the room. Hey, Joe. A few more people that are in. We have obviously several neighborhood organizations, and rather than me trying to stumble through what the boundaries of those areas are, if we want to start over here, Chris, would you introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know, and your organization? We'll go across the front row here.
Alrighty. We're with Swift, and our secretary's here this evening, Bernice Fawcett. Our area is from 15th Street Southwest to 11th Street Northwest, and we go from Dubur all the way to Cleveland Avenue. And we encourage anyone else to come regardless of where you truly live, because it's like they're saying, we're all looking out for the same thing.
You know, and also just to show you, you don't have to live in that neighborhood. We had a lady at the Swift meeting last night from the 33rd Street who never got a recycling bin. So, and apparently had gone to a neighborhood association her end, and so if you see her, would you let her know that it's going to be on her at her house tomorrow? So, okay. You head up your organization as well, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm from Fairgrounds Residential Neighborhood Association. We go from Clarendon to Roslyn, from Tusk to 9th or 10th Street there. And just like you just said, we welcome everybody. It's not about where you go, knowing what association you're in, it's just being involved. Thank you.
And then we have, of course, a stranger to nobody here, the legend himself, Ron Duff.
Yeah.
I'm sucking up so he doesn't run against me next time he does live in Ward 5.
Going the way you're going, you're fine. From the Sours Involved Neighborhood Group, or SING, our borders are on Navarre Road on the south, Raff Road on the west.
That'd be south, wouldn't it?
It's geographic. Clarendon on the east, and 9th Street on the north. Generally speaking, it's a very large area. So, like these gentlemen have previously said, our meetings are the second Tuesday of every month at the 11th Street Church of God, 6:30. Everybody's welcome. We'd love to see you there. We're all facing pretty much the same issues throughout the city. And we really need to discuss them, come up with some ideas, and help ourselves, help these gentlemen do their jobs better. And I hope to see you there.
Thanks, Ron. I can tell you that just a couple weeks ago we did a neighborhood cleanup with Sing over on the Maryland Boulevard. I drugged my kids out there. And after about 20, they were gung-ho. I mean, you've never seen somebody so fired up to pick up garbage. And, about 20 seconds later, my daughter's 6 years old, goes, "Dad, my back hurts. Can you carry me?" And I'm like, I think this bag of garbage that I'm carrying is probably more than enough. And if you want to talk about your back hurt, come back and see me in 30 years. So, and then also this past Saturday with Swift, with a couple of your members, we did a neighborhood walk over and through that area, and we've identified some areas in the ward that we want to make a priority. So, with that being said, obviously a lot of these things we go to the neighborhood association meetings, and the people at Swift heard me for an hour and a half last night. I don't believe for a second that they came back down here again to hear from me tonight. So I wanted to introduce our main speaker tonight. As I said, just a few months on the job now, Bruce Lauber, who was captain for, how many years, Bruce?
I was captain for 4 years.
Captain for 4 years, has done, in my opinion, being a ward councilman, I could not ask for more from this gentleman. He's very, very hands-on, very dedicated. There have been calls that I've made that, instead of necessarily sending out a patrol car, I'll get a call or a text from Bruce, and I'm over there right now myself. I'm like, wow, man, I don't want to go over there. And this guy's out there doing it by himself, and it's really inspiring to myself and to some others on council just how hard he works, and it makes us want to work harder as well. So, Chief, if you would come on up, I'm sure everybody would love to hear you. Our new Chief of Police, Bruce Lauber.
First, thank you. It's a real honor to be here, and I'd like to thank Council Member Fisher. Not a lot of kind words, but the reason it's so easy for him and I to communicate, and obviously he's very in touch with his ward, and it's made it a lot easier on me and the department communication-wise and knowing what the real problems are. And So he's made my job easier. So that's, you know,
Don't believe
a
that.
lot of it's him that made me look good. So, but just to give you some background, I've been with the department since 1993. Started out in community policing on a walking beat, patrol division, criminal investigative department, detective bureau, as a sergeant for 4 years, back to patrol division, communications, commanded the SWAT team for 4 years, became a captain, ran an investigative division, went to training, and then became chief. It seemed like it all happened like that, you know. 19 years this flies, it really does. And just the other day, swore in 10 new officers, and you know, that morning getting dressed, it was just a little surreal, you know, because it just didn't seem that long ago that I was standing on the other side. It's a little scary. And but actually, my family goes back generations in this area in Southwest End. My dad grew up on Bryan Avenue. Grandfather lived there, worked at Timpkins, so did my uncle. I was a kid running around the Southwest End quite a bit growing up, and you know, but things have changed. The Southwest End is different, the city's different, and well, society in itself is different. It really is, and. But before I go off on that, talking about the neighborhood groups, if you have any interest, get a hold of Mr. Knight, because, you know, it does work. It really does. And that's why I feel it's so important, you know, getting out here, meeting all the neighborhood groups and everything else. But I think there's 40, 52, 48?
I had heard 52.
52?
I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's my goal eventually, is to meet with every group and really figure out, you know, where everybody's at. And I still kind of like to map out. You know, I still get confused with the council members and what, you know, their areas are. And then when you try to figure that out with the neighborhood groups, you know. So I'll get my criminal analysis, eventually map that out on a big map, so we have it. But you know, my thoughts, you know, with the police department, and I won't hold anything back. I mean, we're in tough times. You know, we're at lowest staffing levels in pretty much known history. But you know, you can't use that as an excuse. You know, you just get smarter, work harder, and a lot of that is. And I hate throwing terms out. I'm not a believer in that kind of stuff. I don't like it. But I'm a big believer in what they call intelligence-led policing. And all that really is doing the old style policing with the technology that we have, just because it's a society we live in. And all that really is you know, taking all the information we have from calls, from all different sources, you know, from all the way from just people calling in, from confidential informants, and putting that together through criminal analysis and seeing what we have in areas. And if we can find trends, you know, either it be violent crime, burglaries, thefts, you name it, and then we know how to allocate our resources. So actually, people calling in helps, you know, because I've been to so many groups saying, you know, we have this problem, you know, in this area, and I asked, has anybody called? And, well, no. Well, that's why I don't know, because no one's told me, and the job's more difficult. You know, these guys right now, I mean, if I brought my radio on and turn it on, you'll hear how they run call to call. So it's hard for them to get to really know people in their area, and you know, and to get a real sense, you know, what's going on when you're going from one to the next. You know, so we got to provide that leadership and that support to let them know, you know, what is going on. But you know, a lot of people come up to me and you know, ask me, you know, how's it going, and you know, and everything, and expect me to be all stressed out and everything. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I love it. So I don't find it as being stressful. I mean, there's always those days you wish you'd done anything else, than what you're doing. But for the most part, I do. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. So, find something you love, and it's not really a job. But we do. We face problems. But, in spite of all that, I honestly, truly, in the deepest recesses of my heart, believe this city is going to come roaring back. I really do, in many ways. I think we got, some good leadership among council, and it's at the point where you see the community now really standing up, and a lot of it, like when I used to work the street, as a patrol officer, and in my beat, I had for like 4 or 5 years, I worked what you call 3 beat. It was lower, northeast, southeast, and the bars in that area, and bar owners always asked, what can we do? Well, for the most part, you get what you tolerate.
Yeah.
You really do. And then, once we worked with them and they understood that, most of those problems would cease. It really would. And you're starting to see a lot of that in the community. The violence we had some months ago when the 17-year-old young man was shot and killed and lost his life. And there was public outrage, and I loved it, and that investigation's still very much going on. And I guarantee you there's people that know exactly what happened, but it's out of, parts out of fear, and but I have all the confidence we'll conclude that in a positive fashion. And I don't want to go too much into, my yearly plans in my mind on how we're going to reshape the department. A lot of that's, internal stuff, and it would be kind of boring to you, but I get excited over it, so I can just keep on talking. But so I like to leave it open to questions, so I get to the heart of the matter, what this area would like to, what the concerns are, or just what any type of questions overall from the police department or our involvement with the city. So, does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering, is the police department in the near future going to bring back the community policing, but the officers on bicycles and patrol the neighborhoods?
To be honest with you, right now I can't see that in the near future. With the staffing levels. Right now, even though we just hired, 10 officers, we're still below what our goal was. And I'm not saying that's anybody's fault. It's the times, it's the economics. But it's almost time for me to start looking to reorganize the department a little bit, just to reinforce the patrol function. But you hear a lot of police officers talk negatively about the community, the guys on the bikes and everything else. But I thought it was fantastic. The communities loved it, people loved it.
Oh, yeah.
My first year on the job, they threw me on the walking beat. I bet I walked 20 miles a day. When you're 25, 26, you don't mind doing that. In the middle of summer when it's 95 degrees because you're so excited. But now, I probably need a golf cart. It still would be complaining, But I could see down the road when things do come roaring back. I mean, that would be something I would love to do. Absolutely.
Because I thought it was a good idea when you first brought it out.
Yeah, it was.
I still
Chief.
think it is.
For benefit of, do you think we'll have them for the Hall of Fame festivals?
Yeah, we always bring the bikes out during the Hall of Fame festival.
I mean, for the rib burn off, in case.
Rib burn off, yes.
That's huge in my area.
Yeah. That's the only way to do it. To get around that perimeter.
I witnessed you guys take down felony drug busters. It was all because they were there.
Yeah.
They asked the young man, they said, get up on the sidewalk. That's what they're used for. He comes back down on the sidewalk. They said, we asked you to get up on the sidewalk. He just kept walking in the street. They took him down, got a fellow drug bust out. It was wonderful.
Well, funny you say that because one year I was still a captain, but it's when we got the new motorcycles. And I love motorcycles, and yeah, I love Harleys, but I love BMWs too. We got the BMWs. Don't argue over it. That's what we got, and it was the best overall choice for our duties. But anyway, the same thing happened. Actually, I volunteered to work in the night, and I'm on a motorcycle, and I'm sitting right there on 4th Street facing, facing Words, right in front of the fairgrounds.
3rd, probably.
3rd.
Yeah.
And this car goes flying. And I'm thinking it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So I do quick out and turn around, and 22 years old, and pull him over, and he has cocaine in the car, and he's like, I'm thinking, wow, sometimes you just wonder how people have lived as long as they have. I mean, it's amazing. But no, yeah, we'll definitely have the bicycles out because I mean that's the smartest and best way to do it, to secure that perimeter. So.
How's the curfew enforcement going to work?
I heard comments on that today on the what was it on the? Oh no, someone called it a voicemail. I got to say, I kind of really like this new superintendent. Worked with him before. When I mentioned that, homicide, there was a lot of uneasiness, at the schools.
Absolutely.
And we worked together and got through that with nothing horrible happening. But he has a concern of that. But the thing about it, we found in the years past. But I mean, we're going to partner with them and go out there and really assess and beat the bushes and find out the problems, because I know there's that becomes an issue, especially during the summer. But it seems like in the years past when we formed operations like that, we thought, well, we're going to go out there and probably bring in 30, 40, 50 juveniles. But then we find we get 4, 5, and 6. So I don't even know if they read our mail or what. Or we just hit the wrong times. But I think now working more integrating more, and it's all about integration, communication, and really working with the schools and the information they have, we'll be much more successful in that. And just getting that out there, I think, is a big thing.
And I've heard a lot of it, and I've heard people talking. It's like, don't start calling them right away. They're not going to be ready right away to come to every juvenile. Yeah. But that is in our area a big one. There are a lot of youth walking the streets 2, 3, 4 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and we'll have certain times where we'll have officers specifically for that, to go out there and to really go attack that problem.
Is there a certain way you want citizens to notify you guys of that, or you want them to keep track of a pattern, or what's the best way to help
that?
you guys?
Or calling, I would, actually, probably the best way would be calling and ask to talk to SIU, Vice. We call it SIU,
okay.
And even if you don't get it, somebody leave voicemail. And the secretary up there is fantastic as far as keeping intelligence and information. So when it comes time to that, they just pull all that out, and formulate the plan, and go at it. But yeah, I mean, if you got a certain area where by all means, call and let us know.
Great.
But my plan, like I said, this first 3.5 months has just been breakneck speed, and it's just like going out and meeting so many people and everything else. Now it's kind of getting to the point where I can actually feel like I'm actually getting back to work, so trying to make those little changes within the department, to streamline, increase our communication. And in my opinion, I think we need to stratify more of the responsibilities. And we'll get a lot more accomplished, and not to go into that more.
I mean, you get a lot of respect from me and some of us out here. A big part of the problem is some of the younger people don't respect you. I mean, my uncle was an officer back in the day, and back then, if he said, take your butt home, you went home, you didn't come back out the door till the next day.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I got that education quick. I mean, like I said, when I was in Milwaukee, part of it was, when they let out of Temkin High School. And I'm just walking down the street as I went to the high school, and there must have been this 15-year-old kid who came up to me and just pretty much, I can't even say the words, that he said to me, you know what, you can't touch me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, if I was 15 and I would have said that to an adult, I would have got beat and handed down the road until my dad got a hold of me. You know,
Yeah.
so
I believe that's part of the problem nowadays.
I do too.
yeah.
Lack of discipline.
Amen
And the
to
kids
that.
know
Amen.
that. The kids challenge the parents.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta see them on my block. You need to line them up like the Three Stooges and slap them all the way they act.
Yeah, I know, and
But-
I don't know what that solution is. I don't.
You know, you're talking about the curfew, once again, where priorities is at, where do you put your priorities? I mean,
Well, and that's just it. You know, in terms of policing, it serves multiple purposes. I can go to a neighborhood group, or I can go to a council person and say, hey, here's, even though people are complaining here about maybe these kids staying on the corner, well, over here you might have we have intelligence that there's whatever. I mean, there's individuals living in this house who are selling drugs or conducting, or thefts or there's burglary suspects and whatever, So we concentrate, we show, and we share that information. We will share that information with the neighborhood groups, and we will work with that, and then you'll pretty much find that really wasn't the problem. But then that secondary, then handling the kids will be a lot easier. But then also comes time where, just perception of the community is also important. I mean, even if it isn't and I don't want to say a real problem, but if it's a perceived problem, and it's on the conscience of the community, it's worth us getting involved in doing something.
see, because in my neighborhood, we have and I'm not going to even call it a small group. Last summer, we had, I'm going to say approximately 25 to 30 kids who were mingling down near the local drug house when 3 gunshots rang out, and it took the police over a half hour to show up.
Right.
By the time they showed up, it had become dark. All he did was run the spotlights on a few front porches, turn around and left. And we're talking gunshots. Now, wherever the bullets went, innocent people could have been killed.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? And Kevin, being in our neighborhood Saturday, can tell you, within 2-block radius of my house, we have 6 to 7 houses that are boarded up. Okay?
They have inhabitants too, that sneak in there.
Right.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
fact, we were discussing because another neighbor and myself actually went to a house that's a bank repo and screwed the windows and doors shut because someone was living in this house. Okay? Which I later found out was going to Fisher's, stealing meat, gone to the drive-through, wanting to ask people, do you want to buy some steaks? You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
We don't need stuff like this. The house that was next to me that used to be my grandma's for years, because just like you, I've been in this neighborhood for most of my life, was vandalized. Officer Clark, who was beaten at Walmart's,
Oh, I know John well.
showed up. As soon as I described who he was, he said, this is 3rd generation. He said, I remember
Dad.
arresting Grandpa, Dad, and now the kids are involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not just them. There's another that's 3rd generation, and they're drug dealers.
Yeah, and this generation, this isn't their father's generation either, and I'm not saying it's pervasive throughout the whole city, but like the FBI just, and I hate always getting into these details, because I just keep on talking, but the FBI just did a 5-year study on officer-involved shootings. And so, actually, if one survived or both survived, they would either go to the prison or interview the officer and everything else. And what it really showed is, when you get down to the base here, some of these kids, and I say kids, but also like in their 20s, there's not a thought process there. I mean, they could be driving down the road, listening to their favorite music, and then an officer makes a stop, and they'll go right to guns. And they found not only that, a lot of these people have more, what they say, combat experience than the police officers did, because they've already been involved in the street in some type of shootings and so forth and so on. You know, and that's, you know, when I read that just last month, I'm kind of, it was, you know, it was perplexing, but you're seeing it, and the danger's that much even higher, you know, for the officers. And if it's that much higher for the officers, it's that much higher for the citizens too. So, but those are the people we need to identify, and those are the people we need to target, you know, and take down. And I was a big, when I ran investigative division as a captain in 2009, 2010, we started the SERV project. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. It was Community Initiative to Reduce Violence. And what it did, it was a law enforcement section, community section, social services, and so forth. But we set our goal as gang gun violence. And it was extreme, it was actually, it was effective, because it brought all those groups together to deal with one problem in various different ways. You know, we were just a small sliver of that. You know, when there was a event where we knew it was gang violence involving a gun, we you know, through our intelligence, we found out who was involved. And so not only you went after the shooters, you know, say it was Rated R and Unit, you know, two of our most favorite gangs here in the city. Not only did we specify on the actual crime, but we went after the whole group. You know, everybody got, you know, if they were on parole or they had warrants or they got stopped, you know, if you caught them dirty and everything else. So it got out there, and also we had a series of call-ins, you know, where us, the prosecutor's office, doctors, and everything else would get up and talk, you know, and it got out there. It really did. Right now we're in the process of trying to revive that, you know, but it works on all levels, you know, not just gang violence, but, you know, once you get a handle on that, you know, it can move down, you know, and going back to the other part, you know, you look, this intelligent-led policing and everything, you're looking for trends. You know, if you see a certain area where you know there's a lot of burglaries, that's when you take a detective and you assign it to those burglaries. And then you find out in that area, you know, who's your usual suspects. Because usually you could probably draw a circle around there, and within, you know, probably a half-mile radius, they're living in there.
As sad as it is.
Yeah. And and then that information flows down to the patrol, you know, of what's happening, what kind of burglaries they are, what's being stolen, you know, is it nighttime, is it daytime, so forth and so on. So it really streamlines and really focuses, you know, on what the problems are. But I know I rambled, but I don't know if I even answered your question as far as
I think the most frustrating thing with me is the police do their job, they go to court, they get the little smack on the wrist, go out, but be good this time. And it's, as a citizen, that's frustrating to me, because the jails are too full, or the crime wasn't enough to justify. You know what I mean? You know, and if it's frustrating to me, I can only imagine how it is to the officers involved.
Yeah, you know, and I got a point earlier in my career that, you know, I can only do my job. And what happens afterwards, I have no control over.
Right.
And that's a whole other conversation. But you'll see a correlation. When they had to close those wings and those jails,
Yep.
crime went up. Now they're reopening and everything else, and it's creeping back down. You know, they say 6% of the population commits 60% of the crime. You know, so you focus on that 6%, that's a pretty big chunk. You know, yes, ma'am.
How many cruisers do you have per shift? Like, well, I live on 10th and Smith.
Right.
How many cruisers do you actually have per 8-hour shift, or 4 or 5?
It varies.
Because I'll be honest with you, if I saw one this past month, it was a miracle.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they know this. That's the problem. They know this. I have a neighbor.
We were told one
I
per
have a
shift.
neighbor that has kids, 2 years old, running the streets at 11 o'clock at night because they're over doing drugs. Throws all her kids in the car, doesn't strap even the newborn baby in, throws it in the car and takes off like a bat out of hell. she forgot them. They were at the one little 3-year-old was at my door because his mom left him behind. She didn't even know it. I had to take him over to the drug dealers because I didn't know where she went. She didn't even know it. So I told her 2 days later, I said, you know, if you'd start strapping your kids in the car like the law says, you would know you didn't have your kid in the car. She goes, I don't strap my kids in the car going 4 or 5 blocks away. But they're allowed to. If I get pulled over, I'm going to get a ticket. But she's not going to because she don't have, I guarantee you she don't have insurance.
She has no insurance.
She don't have probably a registered license plate. And the system's got to start working for us people.
Yeah.
I live there, that's a Section 8 home, and I went down this route before, down in City Council. They told me I had my rights as a homeowner. Because kids are throwing rocks in my house. They are climbing over my fence. They are not allowed. And I told her, I said, if you don't get your kids out of my yard, I yelled really loud, I will call the law, and I don't believe any of you people in this radius wants me to call the law, but I am not fearing it because I will do it. I've done it before, and I said I'll do it again.
Well, that's what you should do. And don't even threaten. Just go in, close your door, and call.
You know, but they say until they see something, they can't do nothing. Because by that
in some
time-
cases, yes.
But they know this. These parents know that everything's F. A 3-year-old telling you F. That's the
You know what?
only
I
word.
know. I gotta tell you.
I'll tell you, if I would have ever said that word, I to this day don't say that word to my parents.
You know, you brought up a good point. Already in my career, like I said, I worked
Oh
more northeast
my
and southeast,
golly.
and you know, it was like, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and more people are out than at noon during the day.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
don't come out.
and I'm a rookie, and I'm like, this is bizarre. And then I go to this one house, and there must have been this 5-year-old kid that cussed better than I was ever able to cuss.
I just
You
am
know,
amazed at
and
this.
it was just like, you know, and I've been, you know, before this, you know, I was, you know, I graduated college, went to the military, and you know, and did some things in there, and I thought I've seen some of the world, and I thought, you know, but no, I decided nothing
So what
compared
am I
to this.
supposed to do with something like that? I mean,
You know, if you have
it's
problems,
unbelievable.
yeah, I mean, if
And
you
it's
have,
just the one house. The other house, I think the drug dealers, they're moving somewhere.
yeah.
I've heard that they
Some
are.
of them online.
No, I heard that they are. The little girl, the little 3-year-old told me they were moving.
But-
Well, they've been there for
I mean,
9 years.
I hate to say it because, you know, it varies on how many cruisers and people we
But
have
I
out per
don't ever
shift.
see any. And if we saw more
'Cause they're going to-
cruisers,
'cause they're going to
even if
calls.
they're in, is there
Yeah.
cruisers sitting somewhere
Yeah.
that at the sheriff's, at the jail that aren't being used? Because if you would get low-paying people to drive around the neighborhood in those things, it would at least spare them.
Well, you know what? I know that does sound like a good
I'll do
idea.
it. I'll do it. And I'll put a man's wig on. I'll do it.
I know, and
Whatever it takes.
that sounds like a good idea, but then now, you know,
I'll do
if the
it
legal
for
department
free.
was here, they'd have to be having a heart
I
attack.
have
You know, because of liability. Yes, sir.
When I was in Florida, the highway patrol used to put empty cars with dummies in them.
I was just gonna say.
On
On the
highway.
expressway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you kidding? In these
Why
neighborhoods, they
can't you do
steal
that?
the dummies.
Yeah.
If
But,
a person just
well,
sees
troopers
a
usually are.
policeman
Never mind. I'm
stares
not
at
going.
Oh my God, they go in the house. The other, last month.
But actually, we are looking at that. We got, they call it, like I said, I get way too much detail when I talk. But it's called a 1033 program through the federal government where we can get equipment from the military and everything else. And we just got a Humvee. And it's an armored Humvee. And, you know, what would be utilizing it for a secondary armored vehicle for SWAT, basically. But also, a lot of communities, like you said, have nuisance vehicles. And so once we figure out how we can button this up where it's secure, and also has a little turret, you know, we'll be able to put this in neighborhoods, you know, that are having problems with cameras, you know, and everything else, you know,
We
and
got
just
a
be
camp for
moving,
it. We'll volunteer.
just be moving that around.
They even
It's
put,
sad.
if they put fake cameras up, those people would be spooked out, I'm telling you.
Yeah. But
When I
no,
first moved in my house, a cop come knocking one night and said, hey, let me know if you haven't seen any drug activity coming out of this house. And I go, me? Tell you? That's not my job. My life will be in danger. He just got out of jail. He's a druggie. Let us know. I wasn't. 3 weeks later, they come knocking on my door. What kind of activity have you seen over here? I said, you know what? Just coming and going. What kind of vehicles? I told him. Well, he just killed somebody. Let me know if he wants. I said, well, they were in there last night because the lights were on. So they bring the SWAT team in and do all this stuff. He is gone. But I mean, I can't be the police. And then they called and asked if they could sit on my porch and watch the drug dealers. I said, in uniform? And they go, yeah. I go, I don't think so. I gotta come home alone.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
No.
But, you know, there's nothing wrong with you calling in. You don't have to leave your name or anything. And just call in and let them know that activity is going on. Because I tell you what, you know, and it's no excuses, you know, but, you know, we got a minimal amount of officers now, and they're all quite busy. But if you keep on calling in with a certain problem, those guys working that zone are going to want to solve that problem because they're going to be tired of going back there, and they're going to figure out a way.
So you're
solve the
saying the
situation.
squeaky wheel will get the...
Well, a lot of times it does. I mean, I remember working the streets, you know, stuff too. Well, then, but you know, you have a problem there, you know. So in order to get to your other problems, eventually you got to solve that problem. Yes, sir.
I live on 7th and Smith,
Okay.
and I don't have a problem calling anybody.
Good.
Because I called at 4 o'clock this morning when I go to work. Smith Avenue is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stop sign, we've all went through this on 7th and Smith.
Oh, I know that area.
Okay, now they've got a new thing. They just started 6th Street on motorcycles and cars and run the stop sign at 7th and Smith and 9th and Smith. I know that every motorcycle, every car that does it, every day we sit there, we've been there 20-some years. It's the same cars that go up and down the street. These people do not work. You know they're running drugs. And we got Section 8 homes too. They sit out on their porch and smoke pipe. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's
You know, you get a contact buzz when the wind blows over near your house.
Right.
You do. I smell it all the time.
And I don't have a
Electricity.
because
Ooh,
the police
maybe
do
that
come when I
would
call
work.
them. I've never had a problem with that. But this stop sign at 7th and Smith, I don't know if they could put a camera there or do something, because we have had police officers out there and police officers that have sat there. And I give them all the credit in the world because they do their job. It is just, these people just seem to know when there's no one there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And not to mention, we have small children in that neighborhood.
Tons of them.
I know.
And there's
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
way they're gonna understand to look both ways. They're too young to know that.
And if
One
it-
of those kids is gonna get hit.
Well, yeah.
They are gonna get
And
hit
it's
in
not
my
when, it's if. I mean, that's not if, it's when. I mean,
I'm a retired person, and I sit on my front porch every day and every night. Half the time I'm crying because that little boy's gonna get hit, that little girl's gonna get killed. I don't know what these parents are gonna do, but somebody is gonna be in trouble if that would happen because we don't have enough enforcement.
You've got-
Somebody's gotta put a stop to this.
You've got one of the kids over there, I think, near you is blind, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
he's legally
over
blind.
there,
He lives
yes.
on the corner. He's got white. He was an albino child. He has graduated from high school, thank God for that. But he's still blind. They can't reverse that. And if their house, their home has actually been hit.
Yeah, that was the one, I don't know, Chief, you probably remember,
And they
the
were
car
up-
came up and
Just missed their
hit
house.
up in
They
the,
totaled the
Yeah.
3
porch.
times.
no, I remember.
It was awful.
Well, that was on
7th and Smith, right?
West
West
Southwest.
Smith? Okay, I
Yes.
was thinking, well, it happened also, wasn't there like Nathan, Clarendon?
Now that I
Right
don't
across
know.
from White Crown, where a car went up and took off the porch.
yeah, I know of another one down in Griff's Ward over on
I'll tell
11th
you
Street.
what, I have a computer room upstairs in my home, and I sit on there and play games at night, okay? I can tell you at least 5 times a night, there's crotch rockets who are coming down, running the sign. I don't care if there's people out there or not. They got no business doing this. Somebody's gonna get killed.
And a lot of our neighbors
Yeah.
don't stick together, but we're not as scared of anybody. We don't care.
We've been there 27 years.
I am.
Come on.
I fear my neighbors.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chief, I just want to let you know, I'm from, on Henry, that's over there near Custom Well.
Sure.
And I'm gonna tell you some problems you ain't gonna believe. You're gonna think it's the sea story. But along there,
That's a Navy guy for you.
the way it's there, squids, you see, they think this is Dragway 42 along there.
Yeah.
There's not a time at night or day somebody shooting down the road. I said, what is this? You know, we got kids down there. This is the best story you're going to love. One night I went out the back, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm kind of like a nocturnal, like the toothless Dracula or something running around. I go in the back, in my backyard. I find, now, I got kids here, but I find a halter top, a pair of shorts, a pair of panties, and a used prophylactic. Now, it don't take much imagination to know what's going on back there, you know. And I come to find out now, Gadsby's, some of the ladies are doing twilighting on their job. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, I heard possibly that they might not have the highest morals. Yeah.
Well, the problem is, I have friends that work at the Waffle House. Over there, you know, at Canton South. One's a Lady Marine, the other's an Army ex-engineer. He told me how the girls will take them to a public parking lot and they be, what'd you say, doing the wild thing in their cars with kids going in. Come on, man. That's bad, you know. Like I say, I'm not saying that I didn't do some crazy stuff when I was in the military, but you know, there's a thing called truth.
And that's just what you remember, though.
Yeah, they don't have no truth when they're.
But no, you know, but it is going to take the community to really, you know, to basically stand up. You know, the police can't be everywhere. You know.
I mean, there's a lot of people
You know,
in this
and
area,
you know what?
and really, this is nothing.
And I tell you,
You know what I'm saying? This is nothing.
You know, I tell you the truth. I mean, even if we did have the money, we could hire 500 police officers. You know, we're Americans. We don't want to live in a police state.
Nope. Nope.
You know,
What is the curfew at night for kids?
it's. I always mess this up.
It's 11 o'clock.
It's 11
And
o'clock.
it's 12:30 on Saturday nights.
It's Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday nights, 12:30.
12:30. All other times 11.
Why that late? 6 o'clock?
You know. Well, I don't know, councilmen
I
around
don't
here,
even
so
stay up
that's,
that late. Come on.
I always had to be home when the street lights.
That's not safe.
Like in the
It's not
garage.
for anybody. That's not safe.
Yeah.
Things happen, day and night, but especially at night.
They're
These
playing
kids are
basketball
walking
in
up
the
and
middle
down
of
the
the
street,
street
they
all
break
night.
bottles everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've come out in the morning and there's broken glass
I
there.
had a big.
This is baloney.
I go to work at 4 in the morning. I called the police department this morning. I'm driving around like I do every morning and make sure everything's okay because all my other neighbors are lazy. So I see this truck go through the alley and I didn't really pay a lot of attention. So I go around again and he's pulling out very slow. I don't know what the case was, but I seen a wheelchair sitting in the middle of the alley. So every time I go around the block, there'd be a light flashing at me. I said, what the hell's going on here? So I went around a couple more times. No light would come on till I went past a certain spot. Well, I called the police department. They were there within 7 minutes. And the officer did stop. And here there was a man, handicapped, young man, no legs, laying underneath the wheelchair. So I don't know whatever happened or what went on, but the police did come and they took care of the problem, whatever it
Well,
was.
actually, this morning we were kind of in your neighborhood on Grigsby. We kind of had a little SWAT thing there. And it all ended well. So we made a couple arrests and heroin and we got.
Grigsby.
You know what?
Yeah.
We have one advantage over some neighbors. We have a German Shepherd.
So do I.
She hates everybody and everything.
So does
She
mine.
protects my property, my house, me and my son are there in the morning when he leaves for work. If we didn't have that dog, I could not live in the city because that's how scared I would be.
I got
It's
admit,
too much crap.
I mean, it is a great turn. I'm not even walking up on a porch if you got a German Shepherd. Okay.
That's for your benefit. You don't.
Yeah.
She will let you know you're not welcome.
Chief, we got about, we wanted to try to keep this to about an hour, but I think I keep seeing a hand pop up back there. I think we have about 5 minutes left. Bernice, I think that was, I saw you. Again, I'm blind, so if it wasn't you, then that's, but I thought I saw your hand pop up there a few times.
These criminals that are generational,
Right.
1, 2, 3. The imprinting is so explicit. There's action and reaction. and their behavior. What do they fear?
Not much.
Like they don't care about nothing, you know, just, hey,
Not much.
I'll do my thing and who cares what you think, you know?
You know what, though? That's still within that 6%, and that's who we have to target, and that's who we have to put in prison.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not a police officer, but I think I might have. Of course, I'm a know-it-all, so you know. I think I know everything. It's not. Believe me, my wife will tell you I don't know nearly as much as I think I do. But I do think there is one thing that they fear, which is not being able to make their money. Which, and this is something I know we've had, several of us have had conversations about, which is if they're feeling constant pressure, that every time they move, there's a call being made, there are people watching them all the time. In my opinion, at least, and things I've seen in other places, that it's a lot of times, in a lot of cases, and I'm not saying that all renters are bad, but a lot of times the criminals that we're talking about often do not own these houses. They're moving in and out. The path of least resistance a lot of times is I can go make money in another city selling drugs where nobody's watching me. And I don't know, Chief, if that's your experience, if there's a feeling that you're constantly being watched by neighborhood watches, neighborhood groups, neighbors.
Well, yeah, but it also brings up another good point. I mean, obviously, you see throughout the country, I mean, this war on drugs, we're not winning. I think a whole new approach has to be taken, and it's been taken in other areas, and one's High Point, North Carolina, which is very similar to us. And real quickly, I know we're running on time. You know, because if you think there's not as much drugs and dope and everything else in Perry, Jackson Township, everywhere else.
You're fooling yourself.
That's right. But what they don't really have is the violence.
Right.
So that's what you attack. You go into those neighborhoods, you identify who the drug dealers are, and they even said you'll be surprised. You think there's 40, 50 people in this area selling drugs, and it turns out there's only 15. Well, you build cases on everybody. The ones who are hardcore, you know what, that's when the judges really hand out the sentences to those ones. The other ones that don't have the criminal record or whatever, they're a signature away to going to prison, and they're offered other outs, you know. But that's a whole another theory. But that's kind of more ways we got to start looking at this. You know, not saying we're still not going to go after them for selling drugs, but saying it's totally unacceptable to do it the way you're doing it in our neighborhoods, you know.
Is it higher because of job loss, or is it just what people want to do?
I think it's just what people want to do.
Yeah.
I really do. I know you had been hanging your hand up there for real long.
I just have a question, okay, say if you call you guys and report something, what happens after you guys leave and they come over and knock on your door and start a drunken fight with you? And by the time you show up, my house could be burnt down. Or I could be laying there in a pool of blood.
Yeah.
Just because I called the cops to report loud music, or them drinking and driving with children in the vehicle, or them selling drugs, or them cussing and fighting and shooting each other off the walls.
When you see that and you call in, tell them. Well, first of all, don't leave your name and ask that you tell them you don't want to be contacted.
Well, it's not just that. He goes around to everybody's house to find out who called the cops on him.
This is our gentleman on Clark.
I've had that problem.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
I was.
Has he
I was
still been
informed.
active?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I couldn't leave my house Friday.
You know.
He's trying to kill us.
He's gonna burn my house down.
You know, because we've talked to him quite a few times.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You may call, Chief, you got backup.
It could be midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning when you guys show up. He gets so mad and such a drunken rage that he'll go around to every single neighbor's house knocking on their door, waking them up.
But yet he calls
See who
everyone
called
on
the
the phone,
cops.
talks to him real nice like he's
Yeah. Well, we'll go over that. We had a letter went out over the loud music.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
The groups you're speaking of, I never knew anything about this.
Well, good.
Well, I'm talking about the SWIFT, every other group, the neighborhood.
All the neighborhood groups, yeah.
There is, I realize that there's power in numbers, but how do we find out?
You're down, ma'am. You're over on Park, correct?
I'm on Garfield.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're on Garfield. I told you I got bad eyes, so I'm guessing on. what we need to do after the meeting, let's get that information, and I'll get it over. I believe. I'm trying to think of if
Well,
any of the groups,
Garfield and what?
any of the groups here tonight
What are
might
you
have you.
close to?
I'm.
Are you close to Newburgh School?
I'm below Newburgh School.
Are you below 11th Street? I believe you'd come to our meetings.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
I'm
and if you come to our meetings, or actually any meetings, they will help you to find out exactly.
I've never heard about it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find that lady for me.
It's just.
Right.
I haven't heard from her at all.
Good.
We've only been around like 5 years.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not that they were established and been a long time.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, I know we're running short on time, but I'll be in the area after this, so.
Well, I want to thank obviously the chief for coming down, because honestly, and one of the reasons that I asked him to come down, and we had talked about this early on, is he and I share a belief. I believe that the most important thing that we need, the relationship we need to have as citizens over here in Ward 5 and the Southwest End or anywhere in the city, is just a sharing of information. And obviously tonight was a part of that, and I wanted for you guys to have an opportunity to share that with him. But it has to be a continuing process. And I can tell you now, maybe it doesn't seem like his style, but maybe it's because I got a title in front of my name when I call him. We get something moving. But I don't think it is, because of the fact this is somebody that I know is very interested in not being reactive, but finding out where these problem areas are and going after them. And so the more I've talked to him and seeing that philosophy, I've been very excited about if we can get that back and forth with the neighborhood associations, with the crime watches, and with just individuals around the neighborhood, we can start to make a dent. Are we going to make this into utopia tomorrow morning? Oh, if you can tell me how to do that, I swear to God, I will resign right now, give you the job, and please make this a utopia.
No, thank you.
But what I have found out is that honestly, it's a whole lot of little wins start adding up to a big win, and we've got to be able to take neighborhoods back, one house, one block, one street, one ward at a time.
Right.
And that's the way we're going to have to go about doing it. And I want to be involved in it. I know the chief obviously does as well. I want to thank everybody who came down tonight. Obviously, Chief Lawver, Mr. Knight, my neighbor and assistant majority leader, Jim Griffin. Obviously, all our neighborhood associations as well, and our quiet councilman in the back of the room, or took the smart road tonight, which was to not sit up in the front. I got to learn from you guys. So.
That's all right, they got spotted.
But most of all, I want to thank you guys for coming down. I know it's a nice night and everybody's got a lawn to mow and we've got dinner to eat, but you guys taking the time to come down and share what you're seeing in the neighborhoods, what you're seeing and sharing with the chief, we cannot win back a single neighborhood without knowing these things. And that's why I wanted to hold these. One little house cleaning note that I will leave you with is our goal is we want to do this about every 3 months. I'd love to see all you guys come back at the next one. If you're on Facebook, we have a Ward 5 Facebook page. Send me a friend request. I'll add you to it. I did the math. Now, bear in mind, that was never my best subject, but 3 months from now puts us in the middle of the Hall of Fame. And I don't know that's going to necessarily be the absolute best time to do our next town hall. I'm thinking what we might do is bump that back to maybe right around the beginning of September as school's getting back in, and obviously we'll have some other things to talk about, and perhaps we'll bring down school board members and or administrators and talk about that as well. But be looking for that. I'll obviously keep you guys updated by email, and everybody should have my phone number by this time. Judging, I know Chris saw it going off at the meeting yesterday. Judging from the calls over the last 24 hours, I think everybody does have my phone number at this time. But again, thank you, every single one of you, for coming down, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks,
For
guys.
being here.